Let's move on to some gifts of ideas and thought. Now, one of my favorite areas, of course, is the Iroquois Confederacy and what they contributed to our entire world. The exchange of ideas started happening right away from 1492 onward. Their ships were traveling all over the world, and there was 25 to 30 main ports, and they were transporting all kinds of goods, including slaves and indentured servants and fruits and vegetables and animals and bugs and rats and small creatures, and as I mentioned before, viruses and bacteria and pathogens of all kind. But ideas and thoughts were also traveling, and the Europeans were fascinated by what was going on in the Western Hemisphere. Now, the stories that came back were really laughable. There was a lot of truth, of course, and a lot of accurate reports, but there was also a lot of embellishments and a lot of crazy stories, people trying to just take advantage of the situation. And so there's a lot of very comical reports that you can read, and you have to sort of sift through what it is that's happening. But they were fascinated. They were into reading at that time. It was brand new to them, and they loved reading about these indigenous of the Western Hemisphere. They were also fascinated by the idea of the liberty and freedom. It was 100% dictatorships over there in Europe at that time. The noble system throughout Europe cordoned off the entire continent, was fenced off really. And this idea of people living without a king, they couldn't envision that really, the people that could not be dominated, and of course with that goes not dominating others as well too, but the liberty and freedom concepts that were emanated from, particularly as some of the Indians in the north that I'm going to refer to, and that's gone all around the world today, and that is something that's epitomized around the world. And it's not just a North American, a Western culture thing. When you look at them, when the German wall fell down, they bring out these Americanisms, and we're going to get into that, where those Americanisms really came from, the Iroquois Confederacy, or during Arab Spring not too long ago, singing "We Shall Overcome" and borrowing these civil rights aspects, and once again Americanisms, these feel-good types of things about freedom and not being dominated by others, and being able to free yourself from autocratic rulers. And this. So philosophers in Europe were also fascinated by the indigenous as well too, and Locke and Thoreau and Rousseau and a lot of these writers were influenced quite heavily by what went on in the New World, the so-called New World. I don't like that term. Utopia, and these ideas came into existence and are trackable back to some of the writings and the getting inspired by these ideas of these people who lived in this type of society like they heard about. Okay, see you soon.